I've worked with lots of different databases, lots of different application development environments. In the FileMaker world, I started using FileMaker 2 way back when internally, and then we started using it for customers the FileMaker 3 days. I've written a couple products I've sold to within the FileMaker developer community over the years, and I literally have done systems, I kid you not, from auctioneers to zoologists. You have data that you need to manage. Okay. You have some data quality assurance process that you need to data. You need to configure your system to allow the data to pass through it. Now, having learned that their data looks like that, you decide your data needs to look like this. Similar material, different shape, similar data quality assurance test process. You're the green team. Okay, you guys are like, I don't know, some government entity or something. They are invested in their system, are they not? Yeah. Right? They are working to make it work. They know nothing about the rest of us. They're very busy configuring their system, and it's getting more complicated.
I'll get data for you, okay?
Oh.
Migration alone,
It's getting complicated. So their system is growing and getting more entangled. And they haven't even finished their system, and their scope has gotten bigger and more complicated. You know what? Self-complicate yourself. Now, does this seem familiar to you in terms of just the types of systems that we see out in the world?
Oh, yeah.
In terms of their organic process, an organic process that just by its nature gets complicated. But now, these guys want to get access to that data. Okay, so how does this data fit? No, get over there. Get back over there. The network hasn't been built. Okay, how does this data fit in this hole? It doesn't. Okay, so how does their data fit? Okay, it doesn't. So we need to do some work. So you guys are the red. You guys are the red team. So they get a red bucket. That's the magic transformation bucket, right? Which can convert things into round dowels that work in the red system. And you guys build a, what are you, green? Well, because the specs are really clear, they get a blue bucket. Okay, and this converts stuff into that. So if they talk a lot to each other about what it takes to move square blocks into dowels and dowels into blocks and what shape they should be in, they can actually build those buckets. But this can take a lot of communication from them. But now, if each group wants to communicate with each other using the individual protocols, they all have to know how to convert their various shaped things into their own stuff. It grows geometrically the more groups that are out there if you want to code to each individual group. So this concept of standards comes about. We're like, well, gee, wouldn't it be great if we only had to send one thing back and forth? We can keep our own dowels or wood blocks or monsters, but we can maybe share one thing. So a standards committee gets formed, and we'll have some other people over here who haven't yet volunteered form the standards committee. Michael! Yeah, here we go. Standards committee. Alright, and the standards committee experiments with different modes of exchanging data. Alright, how does that work?
Gentlemen, should we discuss this?
The standards committee always the largest?
How does it taste?
It's often the largest group. Okay, or they may just reach into their pocket and, well,
Breathe deep.
that didn't work too good, right? Okay, or they might discover, where did I put my standards? Here they are. They may discover naturally that there is something that's actually pretty easy to, transfer between people. So, all right, so the standards committee's made this decision. So can you please disseminate these the specifications for the standard to the various groups? Okay, so it needs to send the specs.
Who's the leader of your group?
Alright, so now each group only needs to know how to convert this green ball into their own stuff. And then stuff back into the green ball, and the green balls can be exchanged between all the different people. Does this kind of make sense? On that because if you actually want to send a message, you have to write something on the wall. Okay, so we have to deal with like what language you're using on the wall. But at least it's a green ball, and you all know how to handle green balls. Okay, so this is the problem. And web services is the current incarnation of a possible solution to that problem. How can you build a system without taking too much time talking with the other guy about what they want? Is there a way to document it so that you can, by reading the specs, actually build the thing and have it work? So in order to solve this problem, there's lots of different domains to the problem space. Like in our case, we're used to value lists. Well, other systems will have similar constructs for defining a set of allowed values that could go into an element. The choreography is the sequencing of messages. So here I have a simple dialogue. Hi, I'd like to log on. Here are my credentials. Oh, okay, I know you. Here's a session ID. There are different exchange languages that can be used. SOAP is a packaging of XML. Package up a bunch of XML, ship it to the other guy. They'll do something, however they do it, and they'll ship you back some XML in SOAP format. REST is just like a URL, where you send a name-value pair string after the question mark. Encoding and transcoding for most of us is invisible. We don't tend to have to worry about it too much until you deal with the third party who didn't really implement the encoding properly, or they're using a very old system that still has like ISO 8859-1 encoding, in which case like the euro symbol won't work. There is this notion of namespaces and grammars, which is another one of those sort of eyes glaze over topics in the XML world, but it's absolutely essential to realize that each individual XML-based application is going to have its own grammar that's unique to its own environment. In security, there's this notion of credentials like passwords or some sort of key or some sort of file that's acting as something that you can validate with a third party. We're pretty much all familiar, I imagine, with sessions. Right? XML is inherently hierarchical and tree-like in its structure. PHP has built-in arrays. This is what the request needs to look like. It must have an ID. It must have a date. It must have this. It may have this. You need at least two of those. The value of this has to be greater than this and less than that. All those sorts of data level issues are addressed in an XML schema document. The WSDL is the sequencing of these things. It says first thou shalt do this, and then you might do that, and then you can do this, and then if this happens, you have to do that. Okay? Send a set of requests one after a while and aggregate all the data in FileMaker, and then just export that to a file on disk, and then use FileMaker's import record command to then bring in the XML. So I wrote it out as FMP XML result, already ready to go in, and we found the performance was really fast. So in this case, we used a REST-style query from FileMaker Pro directly to the PHP server that we're using. And we use the import record script step. So import records is very clever because you can put a URL as your, like where is the file that I'm importing, you can use a URL for that. And if you create a REST call, which I'll show you in a minute, that has some of the parameters in it, you can get back FMP XML result data, which just imports. So it's a way of doing REST from within FileMaker client. I hope this was helpful or useful.